articulation of specific measures to support the 36 states and the FCT, and very importantly, support for MSMEs and the creation of jobs. On this episode, we will bring to you more enlightenment and update on the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, NESP. Thank you for joining us once more. I am Lydia Otije-Ochi. Welcome. While some developed and emerging markets are still grappling with resuscitating their economies from the shock of COVID-19, the federal government, through its Economic Sustainability Plan, approved the sum of 2.3 trillion naira as stimulus package for key sectors of the economy. Abolade Salami, in this report, spoke with some economic experts on the initiative and the implementation plan by organized private sector.
World economies, including Nigeria, while planning their capital and recurrent expenditure for 2020 fiscal year, never envisaged an outbreak of a novel disease that will suspend socio-economic activities for months. While this lasted, most nations were plunged into recession as some emerging markets struggled to survive. The situation also affected Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, in terms of sustaining its vibrant economic record. As a responsive government poised to revive its economy from further contraction due to the coronavirus pandemic, the federal government introduced a 2.3 trillion naira stimulus package to cushion the effect on some key sectors of the economy.
It is a good development because we know that the economy has been locked down since March, and most of the operational facilities across the various sectors of the Nigerian economy are already down. So there is need for that stimulant, there is need for that rejuvenation, there is need for what will reawaken the entire economic space.
The summary is that the government recognizes it is an absolute necessity that we intervene in the economy. Two, that it does not have the resources to intervene to the extent that we should have a zero contraction or the economy will not contract. And that it decided to choose the level of intervention that it can afford, which is 2.3 trillion naira. So it is absolutely necessary.
With a breakdown which shows that 1.2 trillion naira will be sourced as structured low-cost loan as intervention from the Apex Bank as well as other institutions, and 344 billion naira from bilateral and external sources as stimulus package. The need for beneficiaries and some organized private sectors to fully implement the fund, economic analysts say, remains a panacea for further contraction.
For the private sector institution that will benefit from this, one is coming at a concessional rate of 5%. It goes with a moratorium of 1 year, which will give those borrowers the opportunity to build capacity and restore consumption. One, at a lower interest cost, it simply means it's subsidized. So that is supposed to have a positive impact on their cost of production. And at a lower cost of production is supposed to make goods available at cheaper cost so that people can consume. So these are measures that will have varied impact.
The provision of the funds. You know, the one major problem we have in this environment is that of character deficit. We have quite a number of bank borrowers that approach the bank not with the best of intentions. So the organized private sectors can help looking at that character deficit and work consistently and conscientiously with the various arms and institutions, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, including NESTRA, including the Deposit Money Bank, to be sure that their members, those who are approaching the system for this kind of funding support, are registered members of these various organizations, and they have proven track record, so that the banking system will be dealing with those that have been certified by the organized private sector as operators of proven integrity.
The funds will be mainly channeled towards MSMEs across several sectors of the economy.
Economic experts and key players have advocated data capturing and effective monitoring of funds for proper implementation of the Economic Sustainability Plan in response to challenges of COVID-19 in some sections of the society. Ijeoma Ugweke examines impact of the stimulus plan.
The federal government recently released its Economic Sustainability Plan, which hopes to address the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The one-year plan, which focuses on achieving mass employment and domestic production, is intended to enable the country reduce its dependency on importation and encourage homegrown innovations and products. The monetary stimulus package is also dealing with small and medium industrialists, with emphasis most affected by the pandemic and vulnerable segments of the population.
America, which is the height of industrialization today, started with small and medium scale industries. If we want to develop, this money should be pumped into these areas. Make sure you have infrastructure, particularly electricity. Make sure that you have good roads so that whatever you produce, you can begin to carry it to a market to sell. So that medium scale industry can begin to grow and be competitive in the market. And lastly, you should also desist a little in the importation of those things you think we can produce here.
Key players in the industry are of the view that a holistic approach involving members of the organized sector should be adopted by government to ensure the funds get to the appropriate quarters for optimum results.
The impact in all the sectors, healthcare, creative industry, agriculture, will be enormous, and we encourage that the government should do that very effectively. We will also like to see that this stimulus package is transparently administered.
When it comes to policy formulations, we are very good at it. But the problem I would say we have in this country is implementation, monitoring and evaluation.
Let the money reach to those that are supposed to get it, especially the artisans, the barbering salon people, the hairdressers, the electricians.
While the state governments, non-governmental organizations and corporate organizations have made impasse towards provision of palliatives in terms of food and medicals to vulnerable segments of the population, it is the opinion of keen observers that grants be made available to market men and women who lost their goods and fortunes as a result of closure of markets.
If you go to some of the markets that are open, most of the stalls are still locked. So it is important to deal with the market union. It's important to deal with organizations like ours, the Small and Medium Scale Association, to be able to mobilize these people and ensure that they are back in business to grow the economy.
The people are hopeful that if the 2.3 trillion naira plan is effectively implemented, it will go a long way to revive the economy.
The need for adequate implementation of the federal government stimulus package to benefit the greater percentage of citizens operating micro, small and medium enterprises in Anambra State has been of great concern to residents who say it will enhance productivity and provide for employment to the poor and the vulnerable in the state. Ngozi Okiriaku has the details.
The 2.3 trillion naira stimulus package plan, dubbed Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, has a 12-month timeline for its implementation across the country. Its key intervention areas include mass agricultural program, infrastructure and informal sector to cushion effects of coronavirus pandemic on micro, small and medium enterprises, as well as on the poor and vulnerable exposed to these harsh realities. So far, some Nigerians have benefited from the plan, including a school proprietor in Anambra State, Mr. Moses Ubo, who said he was afraid of the survival of his business due to lack of finance before he accessed 1.6 million naira intervention, part of the economic stimulus package of the CBN.
Right in my bedroom with my Android phone, I applied. And then eventually I was called that my loan had been approved. The tune of 1.6 million was approved for the school to cushion the effect of COVID-19. So I was told to come over to Nestle Microfinance Bank, Oka, at the post office building. I went there, did all the necessary documentations, and they were funded. In fact, it was a great relief for me.
However, residents who applauded the federal government for the initiative and its prospective impact on the economy and the people also strongly desire for proper implementation of the plan and adequate sensitization of the people in 774 local government areas of Nigeria to benefit more Nigerians.
There are many unemployed graduates who could key into it. So the package is good. But the problem is that oftentimes in Nigeria, we engineer very wonderful programs, but the implementation is very poor.
The American government did almost the same thing, just right about the same time. They approved $2.3 trillion, yes, dollars, to revitalize their own economy. So it is a good thing that Nigeria is doing the same. I will ask the federal government equally, what are the criteria with which those who have benefited?
They should go extra mile, because some people don't have television in their houses. Some people don't have, they don't have money to buy newspapers. Some of them are illiterate such that they don't make use of these phones that they can read news online. They don't have access to some of these things. So because of that communication gap, they should try to consider the traditional means of communication.
In my own opinion, I think that federal government should use traditional rulers and the traditional leaders, just community leaders, to make sure that the money gets to the appropriate people.
In view of the opportunity, Nigerians are advised to key into this economic sustainability plan the federal government has made available to provide for cash flow disrupted by the pandemic. It is the belief of many that with proper implementation of this economic stimulus package, the economy of Nigeria stands a chance to grow and be sustained, and the aim really achieved.
Elizabeth Yila Lamido went around Kano Metropolis and sampled the opinions of the masses on the stimulus plan.
A cross-section of the public who stand to benefit one way or the other from the stimulus plan have this to say.
I have had it from the radio, and the money is very huge amount of money. So, but I don't know the way that I can get it.
We small people, it will help us to improve our business. The problem is that most of small business people, they didn't know the process they should use to follow and get their money.
I would like to call upon the federal government to set up a committee to go back to the grassroots to investigate which way will that money disburse to the poor people.
There has always been this complaint from the people that are meant to benefit from this kind of packages, and there is usually a long process through which they have to follow. I think when you are injecting this much into the economy, one has to be careful so that it will not further aggravate the inflationary situation. We won't have a situation where there will be too much money chasing too few goods.
The consensus by experts and business owners is that the approved stimulus plan will address the issues of youth unemployment, negative economic growth, support to small-scale businesses, and promote manufacturing and local productions at all levels, to mention but a few.
Stakeholders in the agricultural sector in Jigawa State are making case for considerations of ecology and water management in the implementation of the package. They unanimously advocate an adjustment in the implementation of the 12-month farming cycle due to the delay experienced to enable rice farmers in the state benefit fully from the intervention and contribute their quota in revamping Nigeria's economy during and after the coronavirus pandemic. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa has details.
Despite the devastating impact of COVID-19 on all sectors of national life, Data by the National Bureau of Public Statistics indicates that agriculture alone contributed 24.65% to Nigeria's gross domestic product in the second quarter of the year 2020. This figure is better than 21.96% recorded in the first quarter and the sector's highest in the last 2 years. At this material time, the federal government's 2.3 trillion naira stimulus plan to fast-track the economy comes as a relief to critical stakeholders in agriculture in Jigawa State, as the sector provides 90% employment to the citizens.
The COVID-19 has really affected so many people. The economy is seriously down. The only way out is now to go back to the farm and produce more food for the survival of our people. If that money is being injected into agriculture, I'm sure within no time, within just 1 year or so, the economy will improve definitely.
A major challenge here is most of the farmers engaged in small-scale crop and livestock production, characterized by a very weak value chain management. An agriculturalist, Dr. Namegoro Olariwaju, says, although the package is comprehensively designed to address all concerns along the value chain, he, however, harps on the need to reschedule the 12-month farming cycle so as to ensure mass participation and enhanced productivity for sustainable economic growth and development of the country.
So most of our rice farm we produce largely more and more productive in dry season. So the intervention, according to the timetable, the calendar, is wet season, dry season, wet season. They are still capturing farmers. So I think need to be rescheduled. They should make it dry season, which is going to be unfold by December, then wet season and dry season.
Jigawa State boasts of a reliable farmers database and strong presence of 2 reputable indigenous non-governmental organizations known to be providing inputs and expertise, as well as monitoring activities of the farming clusters, a development that gives the state leverage over its counterparts in the country towards keying into the policy and maximizing its benefits in the overall interest of Nigeria.
Jigawa have a program which has done very, very well. We have Wadago Fadamo 3, it was well successfully done. We also have IFAD. These are very good intervention that work very well for us. So we can benefit maximally from it if our local content is taken into consideration. Why my local content is that we have farmers who are under a very registered environment. People know them. It's not that you give money to those who are not going to farm. So secondly, another challenge is that I want the money to address is our ecology. It's not all about input supply. How much of yield can we get from 1 hectare of farm?
A cross-section of the farmers described the federal government's intervention as timely and hoped that, aside reaching genuine farmers, it will provide them with necessary farm inputs to ensure a bumper harvest and rapid recovery of the economy.
We
thank God for this opportunity. We want the federal government to assist us with more fertilizer, insecticide and funds to support our farming activities without any hitch. I want to expand my farm and I hope that all farmers will support the initiative to improve the economy.
Magana ta gaskiya duk mutumin da yake harkan nan ta noma ya samu wannan labari to fa saboda murna ma da addu'a ko bacci mutum ba zai iya ba saboda shine damuwar mu kuma dole shi zamu sa
to be sincere for any farmer who received this good news, it will be difficult for him to go to sleep because farming is our pride and it is what we do for a living. And with this type of intervention, we are really grateful. With agriculture, Nigeria is safer. This is why we always embrace government's policies and programs. I therefore call on farmers to ensure full utilization of what will come from this initiative.
The comparative advantage of vast fertile Arab land makes Jigawa State a rice hub and a major player in the production of variety of tropical crops for home consumption and export at this period of COVID-19 and beyond the pandemic.
The general pulse among farmers and stakeholders in the agricultural sector of the economy here in Jigawa State is that of anxiety as they anticipate the implementation of the federal government's economic stimulus plan, largely because here in Jigawa State, the farmers are engaged in the cultivation of the 16 of the value chain crops captured in the program.
The NESP was developed in consultation with cabinet ministers, heads of federal agencies, the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, state governors, and the National Assembly. The NESP has been developed as a 12-month, 2.3 trillion naira transit plan between the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan ERGP and the successor plan to the ERGP, which is currently in development. The design and implementation of the NESP is driven by these principles: local content and self-reliance, economic stimulation, job preservation and creation, focus on the poor and vulnerable in the society. Highlights of key interventions include mass agricultural programs, infrastructure, informal sector support, business support for MSMEs, technology, expansion of the national social investment programs, cut non-essential spending, and support for state governments. We believe you now have a clearer picture of the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan in its entirety. That's our package on this episode of DateLine 360. Always a pleasure to have you join us. Let's do this again next week. I am Lydia Odide Ochi. Stay safe. God bless Nigeria.